Hello, this is a new podcast with Neil Sillett and Darren Reeves, and we are called Sillett and Reevesy. Hi, Sill. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm fine. Yeah, good morning. How are we doing?
Yeah, very well. We're here at Old Thorns Golf Club, where Sill and I have been members for a few years now, haven't we? Actually, since COVID, to be fair, is when we started up here, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we've played a lot of golf here. And Sill has worked in football all his life. And Sill, tell us a little bit about your career so far.
Yeah, it's too many years to cover, really, but from conception, I've been involved in football. So my father was playing for Chelsea at the time. Grandfather played, uncle played for England and Chelsea, and my dad had a long coaching career. I've been involved in football all my life, varying different roles, from playing very poorly, slowest centre forward ever to play the game, doing a bit of coaching, did my physio stuff. For the last 10, 15 years working in scouting and recruitment.
Mm-hmm. I always remember you, because I'm a Pompey fan, big Pompey fan, and I always remember you running across the pitch as the physio, the 12th man of the team. Sill, tell us a little bit about that time.
Yeah, I joined Pompey in '89, having had 3 or 4 good years with my dad at Coventry.
Good years is an understatement, but we'll come back to that in a minute.
A bit later on. That fits into your bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But 10 great years. I loved the place, but moved back after I had 5 years at Derby. But was sort of known as an eccentric physio, really. So part of my remit was to upset the opposition, which I managed to do on many occasions, bringing down their physio, bumping into their players, and having a laugh.
Was this your idea, or was it the manager's idea?
No, it was a few of the Herbert players that we had, the Aspinalls, the Durnins,
right?
Them sort of people used to egg me on, and then when the fans realised what was going on. As soon as I ran on, there was a here we go, something's going to happen type thing.
Can we see this?
I couldn't resist. You can see that. Yes, a Pompey physio trip on YouTube is one of the ones that we did, which meant me taking out the Crystal Palace physio.
Oh my word.
Which was all a bit of fun. But,
well, I'd love. I'm going to look at that. And Sill, you just mentioned you were at Coventry with your dad before you went to Pompey. And you said, it was a good time. Good times. They were great times, weren't they?
Fantastic, yeah. Actually, yesterday, I visited the Douglas Jennings studio in London, who is 3/4 of the way through building a statue, which the Coventry fans have raised the money for through a committee that we've raised. So him and George Curtis are being... they're in clay at the minute, but it will be a bronze statue that we'll have at the stadium. And though that is, a long-term memory from the fans' point of view of their great days that they had at the club. So
and for those who don't know, they won the FA Cup, didn't they?
They're the only real trophy that they've won, major trophy. They've won. Mark Robbins has done a great job in the last 10 years. But in 1987, I was part of a very small backroom team, 5 people that... There's now 45 people in a backroom team, but they're back then. And we sat down and we looked at the Tottenham team with Hoddle, Waddle, Ardiles, Mabbott, Chris Hughton, Ray Clements, Clive Allen, Steve Hodge.
Wow. Wow. Some real players. They're world-class players.
World-class players. And we managed to beat them with a great group of players and a culture that the old fella had garnered through his experiences with Jimmy Hill. Really, he was his manager as a player.
Right.
So a lot of his habits and his traits that the old fella managed to replicate were big factors in having a great family sort of ethic around the whole club,
Yeah.
And I still think you can do that now. I really do. I think you look a little bit at what Southgate's done. Their backs against the wall type mentality. I think that's what helped them through the criticisms they were getting. They didn't like the criticism, but they sort of grouped together and said, this is us. And I think that goes a long way still, even though how we did it was a very much more social way of getting the group together.
Football teams, and in my world as well, which we'll talk about in a minute, family is everything. And if you can turn it into a family environment, then the Sillett name is synonymous in football world. Everybody has heard in football land the Sillett name, whether it's because of your dad, whether it's because you and your antics, and whether at Portsmouth, Coventry, Derby, and so on. And now you're scouting. Okay, so that's why you're here.
Yeah, well, but obviously you're a bigger part of this partnership than I am. So tell us a bit about what you've been up to.
So, Sil, I am a professional musician, piano player,
One
singer.
of the best in the land, I must say.
Bless you, mate. Bless you. You can only do your best, can't you? So I've had some good times. I've had some high times and some low times as well. But I'm lucky enough to get to play with some great musicians as well.
Give us a few names then. Come on.
Well, I started off being in Bjorn again as
Right.
Benny, and I still do a few shows for them now and spin-offs. I then went on to play Billy Joel in his
there?
musical. Oh, what's that mean?
You're not hologram, no?
No, not hologram. No, not the Avatar. And went on to play Billy Joel in his musical Moving Out, which was on Broadway and then the West
Tell us,
End.
how did that come about?
Well, basically, I was doing a Bjorn Again show in New York at the Guggenheim Museum, a corporate,
Right.
and one of the representatives of the Billy Joel world was there and saw me playing the piano and singing, and just thought,
He's the man.
we could see him. So they flew me over and they said to me, listen, your piano playing's great, but your singing needs to work. And I knew that. I was not really a singer. I did backing vocals or a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I came back home, and living in London at the time, went to the best singing coach for technique, Mary Hammond, who was at the Royal Academy of Music. And I also was watching Pop Idol on TV on a Saturday night and thought, oh, who's the singing coach on that for pop stuff? A woman called Jo Thompson. So I flew back. I had a gig in the Cayman Islands. So I thought, oh, if I go via New York, they'll see. And they did. They saw me again. And they said, oh, your singing's great, but your piano playing needs some work. And I thought, come on, but it's where your focus is, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I hadn't let that settle to be second nature
Right.
at that point. So I just kept pushing to thinking, right, I'm going to go back and I'm going to prove it to them. I was doing a lot of the piano bars in London and just doing other gigs and so on, still with Bjorn Again. And they just rang me up one day and said, the gig's yours, you're doing it.
Wow.
And I did that. When I was doing that, I got to meet Brian May and Roger Taylor
Yep.
from Queen, and got onto We Will Rock You in the West End.
Yep.
And when that closed, I then got a phone call saying, would you come and musical direct Queen Extravaganza?
Right.
So I've been touring that, and I've just had a 3-month tour all around UK and Europe, and you've seen the Queen Extravaganza, haven't you?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
And you can laugh at me doing stuff at that as well.
Yeah, your jacket. Your
the
blazer, whatever it's called.
Yeah, so I need a few more, Sil. That's what I need. So my world, I'm a professional musician that loves sport.
Yep.
You are a professional sportsman that loves music.
Absolutely.
Who's your favourite musician?
Oh, I've got to be Weller.
Yep.
But I've got a wide taste, really. I mean, goes from Elton John to Snow Patrol
Yeah.
and all that sort of thing, Coldplay.
Yeah.
But I love your piano sessions,
Oh,
as
well.
do all our society.
Well, mate, it's just...
We got Big Kev, the kit man from Pompey's, well-known
Yes.
figure in football, mainly because he's about 6'5" and 40 stone. But
Yep.
he loves it.
Well, he actually came to see Moving Out with the Pompey team back in 2006
Okay.
when it was in the West End.
Did he shout, "Play piano, man"? Then
I couldn't hear him if he did because I had my ears in. But I've definitely heard him many a time say it. What we're talking about is we have a golf society that we're part of called the Goodwood Dignity Golf Society. And we come up here to Old Thorns and do many events over the year with lots of friends of ours, some of which were professional footballers at the time. So that's what we're talking about, if you're like, what? So, Sil, there's been some massive breaking news in the football world this morning in the wake of the Euros. What's happened?
Yep. Officially now that Gareth Southgate has resigned. Not a big surprise, I don't think. I think he said before the tournament, if he didn't win it, I think it would be his last. He's taken a lot of stick throughout the tournament.
Throughout the tournament or throughout his tenure?
Yeah.
To be fair. Why do you think that is?
I think it's modern society in a way. Everyone expects instant results and full entertainment. The pragmatic approach of trying to win games isn't popular for some reason. You'd rather sort of... Fans want to see free-flowing, high-pressing, Pep Guardiola football. There's only a certain amount of players that can actually do that, which is one thing. But it's so hard to sort of get that going over a short period of time and deliver those results as well.
Well, the expectation of England for these Euros, were they not one of the favourites really this time? And we haven't seen England win. Well, I've never seen it in my lifetime.
Right.
And you've never seen it in your lifetime.
I was 3.
You were 3? Oh, God, you're older than I thought you were. So...
no, I look younger, don't I?
That's what it is. So The expectation of England, we've watched them now go to semi-final World Cup, final of the Euros, quarter-final of the World Cup. So the expectation of this was massive. Southgate, I don't know. I don't know. And something you were telling me about is his personality.
Yeah, I do a lot of work with the FA these days, delivering talent ID and recruitment courses, often at St George's Park. And quite a few times Gareth has come and said hello and sat down, even had breakfast with us. He's a delightful person, an absolute top-notch guy. Very sort of subdued and reserved in a lot of ways, but lovely demeanour about him. And to do what he's done is exceptional, really, in terms of results, as you say, but never quite getting over the line. But as you quite rightly point out, got further than many other top managers.
Massively. You know, we think back to Bobby Robson and Terry Venables when, 1990 World Cup and then the Euros in 96. And then we've seen the Svens and the Fabio Capellos come in from abroad. But Gareth has achieved more than any of those in his time, and hence why the expectation is so high. We've got some great players in there. Had one of those headers just gone in, it could have all been so different.
You're sounding like Mickey Baker now. If that tree hadn't been in the way of my 8-iron, I would have hit it on the green.
Absolutely. But
I think
great
it's
saves.
important to contextualise how he's got there.
Yes.
And ifs, buts and maybes, if the tree hadn't been in the way. The pathways that they've had to get so far in the competitions has undoubtedly been easier than other previous managers have had. You've still got to win the games, although they drew the games and got through by hook or by crook.
Well, when you look at the stats of England and Spain through, all I know is Spain won every single match, 7 out of 7. They were the rightful winners. What was England's stats?
England won 2 in 90 minutes out of 7 games.
Wow.
Drew 4 and lost the final. So that's quite stark in itself. They won 1 of the group games.
So it'd be interesting, wouldn't it, if we took is it 32 teams? How many teams are in there?
Yeah.
24. 24. Yeah. If we took a league table of how the 24 teams achieved, England would probably just be mid-table, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would, yeah.
For 90 minutes. So,
but they managed to win the group because the group was poor.
Yes, good draw again.
Again, good draw for the group. But they stumbled through that, really. Yeah. The game they won wasn't at all convincing.
Well, they came out the blocks in the first match, and we saw Bellingham score that header, and the expectation was there again, and then the match fizzled out, and then nothing quite happened, and then we were going to lose and be knocked out in the last 16, and then suddenly in the last minute, Bellingham.
And who did we play in that game? So the opponents aren't a Portugal, aren't a Brazil.
No, was it Switzerland?
Germany. That game, I think, was Slovakia or Slovenia.
Yeah.
So we can't even remember
because we had one of them in the group stage and one of them in the last 16.
Yeah. In a game we should have lost.
Absolutely. But the big players did step up when they had to step up.
Yeah. At the end, I just think we're not maximising those talents at the moment.
Right.
When you look at what they're doing in club football, and it isn't the same. It's a lot different. And what he does really well is he garners a bit like the culture I talked about with the old fella at Coventry. He garners a spirit, and that takes him a long way as a group. And when you're at a tournament, that's all that really matters, I guess.
Yes.
But when we dig down, it's not all that matters, because all that matters is creating more chances, which we didn't do. We how many XG goals they go on about, don't they? Expected goals per game. Ours would have been low on chances created through every game in 90 minutes, which is a start point for the amount of players that we've got who can create chances. The list is bigger than any other country. Your Cole Palmers, your Jude Bellinghams, your Phil Fodens, your Bukayo Sakas, your Jared Bowen, the Anthony Gordon.
Yes, there's a lot
in
there,
isn't
on
there? And on and on. Really, I just think Bellingham for me has got to play deeper, because when it happened near the end of the game in the final, when he's facing the pitch rather than facing his own goal, he's a far more difficult opponent.
Well, Sil, my choice would obviously be Sillett for the next England manager. But what do you think is going to happen? Who do you think is going to fill those shoes, which, quite frankly, They're big
Yeah.
shoes to fill.
They are in terms of results.
Yep.
There's two guys floating around at the moment, Jurgen Klopp and Mauricio Pochettino.
Now, I've just shaved my beard off, but I was walking through Truro last week.
Right.
Some guy came out of a shop and thought, God, I thought you were Jurgen Klopp. But the beard's gone now, so it doesn't look... And he's not the first time I've had
He's
that.
got the whiter teeth from you as well, mate. But he's come from Turkey.
Oh, yeah, I'll have to pop over there and sort that out.
So those two are around at the moment. Pochettino, for me, was doing a great job at Chelsea.
Yes.
He might not be able to take another job if he's still being paid by Chelsea. I don't know the ins and outs of that, but...
Everything's there to be negotiated, mate.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Will the FA want to negotiate that with Pochettino's people? Will he want it? Will Klopp want to come out of retirement? Because I think he'll want to see his family and go around the world for a couple of years. So it might not be the good timing for him. Lee Carsley is a name that many people wouldn't associate with it.
No, what's he up to?
He's the current England under-21 manager.
Right.
Absolute top guy. Was with him for 4 or 5 years at Derby. He's a proper fella, a bit like Gareth, so maybe he fits their bill. He's a little bit random, some of the things he'll do, and a little bit more naughty, schoolboy naughty than Gareth.
We like that.
Yeah, we like that. He'll become popular with the English public because of those sorts of things. Everyone I've spoken to at St George's Park and the FA say his training sessions are magnificent. Every player he's handled, that's a dodgy term, isn't it?
Yep.
But coached or managed in his tenures with the under-21s really speak highly of Carzo. I'd love to see him do it. He's actually said to me that probably isn't possible, but I'd love to see him take the job.
So he's your choice.
Yeah.
But you love a little flutter still.
Oh, I do.
Who's the tip? Was it Poch?
Poch would be my second choice,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, look, we talked a bit about football. I'm a big football fan, but we're also big golfers.
We are.
And this season we play attention to the majors a lot. I do, for sure. You pay attention every week. You know what's going on. We've just had the Scottish Open.
Yep.
Who did we see win there?
We saw Bobby McIntyre win his second big tournament in about a month.
At home.
At his home, yeah. Really popular. Dodgy incident when he was deep in the rough and managed to find a sprinkler head that he stood on that was interfering with his swing. We don't even get that, do we?
No.
Mind you, we don't hit it in the rough, do we?
No, of course we don't, mate. It's just simple golf, mate.
Yeah, so he won. He beat... Adam Scott was in the clubhouse 15 minutes earlier. Bobby birdied the last to massive cheers and celebrations from the local crowd, which was great. And he'll have a chance in the Open again. Home turf for him.
Yes.
Playing brilliantly well, and would have a chance. He's about a 35 to 1 shot, believe it or not. So not a bad price.
No,
for him.
not a bad one to go on.
Yeah.
So last year, you and I actually attended the British Open
with Harrison.
With Harrison, my son, and at Hoylake, we did it.
You walked a lot further than me.
I certainly did.
I found a bench in front of the
You just sat
screen.
on the which hole did you just sit there? First you did sit on a hole for a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I sat on the 16th, I think.
Yeah.
It was a par 3.
Yes, it was. Yeah. So
Maybe
you
the
sat there and
16th.
watched that, and then you just went and found a screen, sat there on a picnic bench.
Yeah.
But soaked in the atmosphere.
It was great. Great occasion.
It was,
yeah.
and we went up to the 18th at the end, didn't we? In the evening before heading back. So I'd recommend to anybody. It's one thing watching it on TV, and the TV coverage right now is phenomenal.
Second to none.
For so many sports now. That it makes it difficult to go look. But you have. What I try and say to people is, if you are mobile and can get around,
not like me,
just soak in what you're watching.
Yeah.
You can't see everything, so just take it in, take in the atmosphere, enjoy the day. And golf is a wonderful thing to go around, and it's just a lovely atmosphere, isn't it?
It is.
Very, very different to watching a football match because it's 90 minutes of absolute full-on cauldron-like atmosphere. Golf isn't like that. It's a country walk in the park, isn't it?
Yeah, or country buggy in the park.
There you are. Yeah. So we've got the British Open happening this week.
Yeah, we've got a few fancies in this. So. Few names to sling out there, all right, and hopefully our sponsors will endorse these prices that I'm going to shout out now. Massive outsider, right? This one, 1,000 to 1.
Go on.
Shubhankar Sharma, right? Played well
It's not
last
Cockney
week.
rhyming slang, is it?
No, it's
No?
not.
Okay.
His final round in the Scottish Open was 5 under. Plays these courses pretty well.
Right.
1,000 to 1 at 50p each way, right?
Yep.
Then we've got Aaron Rye, 45, 50 to 1 shot. Again, was right up there last week. The last 4 tournaments he's played, he's been involved in the last 4 or 5 groups to go out. His consistency's right up there. He's won the Scottish Open before on a course very similar to Troon. So horses for courses, Aaron Rye with a chance. But I'd love to see Tommy Fleetwood win.
Yeah.
And he's about a 20 to 1 shot. I'll be following Tommy Fleetwood. I did fancy Morikawa, who again has been up there in all the majors recently. Had a 3rd place finish, a 4th place finish. Was up there last week in the Scottish Open. But I've just watched him on Sky practicing, and Radar, Wayne Riley said that's the worst practice session I've seen. So I'm keeping my money in my pocket as far as Morrick. You watch him go and win now, but I haven't backed him.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it. It starts on Thursday, if I'm right, up at Troon. And big golfers we are. We're members here at Old Thorns Golf Club, and we get out and do as much as we can. And
someone's just brought a pizza along and we've turned it away. See, sorry, I turn food away.
I was like, what's going on there? So I was not expecting that. So, we come up here at Old Thorns, play a lot of golf together. And, I love the view from the 5th tee and the view from the 17th as well. Amazing. What's your favourite hole here at Old Thorns?
Oh, my favourite hole? Well, I'll tell you what's my worst hole.
Go on.
We've played here for a few years, many times now. The 6th,
par
par 5.
Yeah.
Where every shot's a nightmare, especially when you're hitting it all over the place. But I'm happy with an 8 on that par 5. So
just 8 and get off.
Yeah, that's a disaster.
As long as you've parred the first 5.
The first hole's an easy entrance, isn't it? Really, an easy start. But I like the par 5 second hole, and the par 3 16th. I think is a great little hole.
Oh, I do too. Absolutely. Nearest the pin competition on there is great. If you haven't played Old Thorns, look it up online. Come and play it. It's just down in Hampshire, just down the A3. And we love it here, and that's where we are today, just looking over the practice ground. Now, football, golf, there's a few other sports that we're into, and one of them for you, Sil, is cricket.
It is.
What's going on in the cricket world this week?
I should have stayed playing cricket. I played to a high level until I was about 16.
Oh, okay.
And then when I was involved in football, still played for a club called Nolan Dorridge, which was in the senior Midlands League. Played against Warwickshire Seconds, and also had a few games involved with Somerset. But last week was Jimmy Anderson's last test match at Lords, which was all pre set up by the England hierarchy that it would be at Lords. Probably our greatest ever swing bowler. Been called a fast bowler, and he bowls mid-80s, so he certainly qualifies on that front. But took 3 wickets in the second innings. But the whole occasion was found. He had a lump in your throat. It was announced that it was his last game, and his 2 daughters rang the bell to start play.
Right, okay.
That caused a lot of 2 lovely-looking girls on social media. I think everyone went crazy, and Jimmy went red and started looking at his teammates, telling them not to look at his daughters.
Boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys, of course, but it was a great occasion for him.
Yes, of course, and thoroughly deserved.
Absolutely. To take 700 wickets, to play for 21 years, pounding in on hard cricket pitches.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a tough.
Well, mate, I went to Lords last year and watched England-New Zealand. I only got to see 5 overs, so I was really disappointed. But I was properly into cricket in the 90s, watching your Bothams and Gooches and Athertons, and then work took over a little bit, really. So I sort of feel like I need to brush up on my test cricket again, and even, I love it. But
we'll keep you in, because I can't take my eyes off the golf or the cricket.
No.
I do other things. I do work sometimes,
sure about this?
But England had a debutant last week called Gus Atkinson, a fast bowler. And they've got a few options now in the fast bowling department. So you've got Mark Wood, who bowls over 90 mile an hour. Jofra Archer can bowl over 90 mile an hour. And this lad, Gus Atkinson, can bowl to 90 mile an hour. He took 12 wickets on debut.
Wow.
So he gets his name up in Lords in the long room on the board for taking 5 wickets. He actually took 12 in the game. I've seen him a couple of times live. He is rapid. He's quick and bowls at you. Really difficult.
How old is he?
He's about 26,
Okay.
like 24, maybe a bit younger.
Okay.
And doesn't open the bowling for Surrey, funny enough. Maybe if he had the new ball, it goes a little bit all over the place. But he comes on when the lacquer's come off the shine of the newborn. He's one that will definitely be going to the Ashes in Australia with a big reputation now.
Right. Well, I'll keep an eye on him then. I'm going to watch that. Now, Sil, without my eye on cricket so much and listening to you talk about it with such enthusiasm, you know that I have a sport.
You do?
Yes.
Four wheels on my wagon, right?
It is, yeah. Formula One is absolutely my passion. I can't take my eyes off of that. I've been like it ever since 1986. I've not missed a race to watch it in its full length.
Wow.
Sometimes I might have to watch it on, later because of work, but I'm terrible if I know it's on and I'm not watching it. And the reason is I sat in Derek Warwick's Renault back in the early 80s and then watched it the next week on racing around the streets of Dallas, and I was just absolutely hooked, sat there with my dad. And but lots of people and yourself go, oh my God, why do you watch that? It's boring Sky Electrics going round and round and round on a Sunday afternoon. For me, it's about the politics, and it's about there's 10 teams at the moment with 2 drivers each, and there's inter-team politics, and there's inter-driver politics. It's all about beating your teammate, really, more than winning the race. But we're seeing Verstappen. He won 2021 controversially against Lewis Hamilton, and he's won 2022, 2023, he's leading 2024, but we've just seen 6 different drivers win the last 7 races, and suddenly we've got a sport now where Verstappen isn't in the fastest car for the last few years, and we can see 8 different drivers, whether for Red Bull, Mercedes, McLaren or Ferrari, go out and win a race. We don't know, and we've not had that for quite a long time, if I'm honest with you. We had dominance since...
Isn't it all about the car and not the driver?
The best drivers get the best cars, basically. Right. So so you've got to perform in the best car. And I
got a speeding ticket the other night on the M4. Don't go over 40 mile an hour through the roadworks if you're going on the M4 between Swindon and Newbury. Absolute nightmare. And that was at 12:30 in the morning.
Mate, I did the same on the M3 last year. And I was doing 60, thinking I was in a 60 mile an hour limit, and then got the ticket through, and I was like, well, I was doing 60. I was doing the speed limit.
Yeah.
I never saw a 50 sign. My wife said, did you look online? We went online, looked, there was a picture with this massive great 50 right over the top of my car.
Ooh,
so I thought I was doing the right thing. So yeah, be careful. That's all we can say there. We know firsthand.
Yeah.
But no, Formula One at the moment, I was lucky enough to see Charles Leclerc win in Monaco, and he's a Monegasque, so he sees his home race. So just like Bobby McIntyre.
What's a Monegasque?
A Monegasque is somebody who comes from Monaco. I was lucky enough to get to talk.
I thought it was someone who liked the royal family.
Well, I got to talk to Prince Albert.
Oh, did you?
While I was there, because I arrived on the Wednesday, and Wednesday night
was he in Only Fools and Horses?
That's it, yeah. Prince Albert.
Right.
Playing the piano in the Nag's Head. So I got to do my podcast. I have a Formula One podcast called Race House from there. So, and this is the other thing. Sil has done a podcast called Pints of View.
Yeah, with Gary Goldsmith.
So if you haven't heard that, get on there and go and find that as well on all your different podcast platforms that we will be putting our podcast on as soon as we've recorded this.
Yep.
And so when we talk about football, we talk about golf. You talk about cricket, and I love it, but just not up to date. Yep. I talk about Formula One. There's one other as well, isn't there, that we enjoy? Yeah,
we do enjoy a bit of horse racing, don't we? Sort of the glue that brought the Golf Society together.
Yes.
Was a day out of the races, the Goodwood Friday night meetings in June. Goodwood's a place close to our hearts. It's logistically quite close.
Well, it is. We've got the horse racing there where we go to. We've got the golf course where we go and play as well. Yep. And for me, we've got the motor racing circuit, which was where Formula One used to go to in the 50s, and my dad used to go and watch it.
Wow.
So I took a mate of mine down there last week, just before we went to Silverstone, and he got to see the old circuit and had a bit of lunch there, and he's from Melbourne, flew over from Melbourne because he's never done Silverstone, but he's a marshal in Melbourne.
Right.
And I used to go down there and watch the race. But we got to experience Silverstone, and where we've just talked about homeboys winning everything, we got to see Lewis Hamilton win his 9th British Grand Prix at Silverstone. We had 3 Brits on the front, three grid positions at the start. We got to see Lando
finish. All the rest driving on the wrong side of the road then?
Well, mate, they do drive on both sides in Formula One, in one direction, hopefully. But yeah, we love all these all these sports, and like you said, it's the glue that brings us all together.
Yep.
And our plan for this podcast is not just for you and I to chat about everything, but also to invite some of our friends and guests on to talk about their world of sport and careers in sport. And we're going to announce our first guest is going to be a very close friend of both of ours, former Portsmouth manager and Portsmouth player, Andy Orford. Only thing is, he doesn't know he's coming on yet. So I'm hoping he listens through to the end of the podcast and finds out before you see him tomorrow at golf.
Yeah, we've got to make sure we embarrass him when he comes on, but we can't let him know that beforehand.
Correct.
He's the chairman of our golf society,
Yes.
isn't he? Left-hander. Plays off the tee with a 5-iron.
He does.
Says a lot about him, doesn't it?
Well, it's just a bit cautious, a little bit safe.
A little bit Southgate, or safe, did you say?
Well, mate, maybe there's a tip. So he's available, isn't he, at the moment?
Yeah, he's available. Yeah. Maybe come and play in the golf society.
So listen, that's our podcast. Sillett and Reevesy. Please listen to our podcast. Please spread the word as well. Put any comments in the comments lists on YouTube or the podcast platforms, and we'll be back next week or the week after. The world of sport will have moved on very rapidly, as it does in that time. We'll sit here with Andy Orford. Really look forward to it. My name's Darren Reeves.
My name's Neil Sillett. Been great fun.
Brilliant. Take care, Sil. Well done, mate.
Cheers,
Loved it.
Reeves.
Take care.